Sparta in 5 minutes or less. Not only did city-states have different governments, but they also had different cultures. Two city-states, Athens and Sparta, lived very different lives. They were only 150 miles apart, yet they couldn't be more different. Why, you ask? Geography could be one of the reasons. Athens is in central Greece, only 4 miles from the Aegean Sea. They could just hop on a boat, travel to the outside world, and learn new things. Sparta was more isolated, on a plain between the mountains and the sea. They were suspicious of outsiders and their ideas. They grew what they needed and took what they couldn't grow from their neighbors. In case you couldn't figure it out, these two did not get along. One difference was government. Athens became a democracy in 500 BCE. All free men over the age of 18 were considered citizens. A council of 500 men over the age of 30 met every day to run the day-to-day business of government. Proposed laws needed to be approved by the assembly. At least 6,000 citizens needed to show up for this meeting, and if they didn't, slaves would round them up to participate, kind of like cows. Sparta, on the other hand, was an oligarchy. The Council of Elders, which consisted of 2 kings and 28 men, made all the important decisions. Members of the Council of Elders were elected by an assembly. The assembly was just like in Athens. To be in the Council of Elders, men had to be at least 60 and from a noble family. Let's talk about economy. Economy was the way a community organizes and manufactures an exchange of money, food, and products and services. The Athenian economy was based on trade. Athenians traded honey, olive oil, silver, and pottery with the neighboring civilizations. Athens developed their own coins to make trade easier. They also had a big marketplace called the Agora in order to buy and sell goods. Sparta's economy relied on farming and conquering. Since Spartan men were warriors, they relied on slaves of conquered neighbors and non-citizens to produce the goods they needed. Sparta discouraged trade for fear that new ideas would weaken their government. Sparta also had long iron rods for their money, since these would be more difficult to steal. The education of each of these city-states was a little different as well. Athenians believed that producing good citizens was the main purpose of education. Athenian boys and girls were educated much differently. The boys were taught at home until 6 or 7, then went to school to learn reading, writing, and math from 6 to 14. At 18, boys began their military training. Athenian girls did not learn to read or write in the fashion that boys did. Girls were taught to cook, clean, spin thread, and weave by their mothers. Spartans, on the other hand, believed the purpose of education was to produce men and women to protect the city-state, and if a baby did not appear strong, they would be left to die on a hillside. All Spartan children were trained to fight. Being a brave soldier was extremely important. Let's talk women. In Athens, women were not considered citizens, and because of this, they had fewer rights than men. They could not own property, vote, or attend the assembly. Most couldn't even choose their husbands. Few women had jobs, some sold goods in the market. Women had the most influence in the home. They managed their home and raised the children. In Sparta, women lived a simple life. They wore plain clothing, no jewelry or makeup, and were expected to be strong and ready to fight. Spartan women had more rights than other Greek men. They could own and control property. If their husband is away at war for too long, they were allowed to marry another man. And slaves. Slaves were abundant in ancient Athens. Even the poor owned at least one slave. Many slaves were born into slavery or were captured in wars. Slaves ran households, tutored children, worked in farms or factories, or if you were truly unlucky, you worked in the silver mines. Slaves in Sparta are also people that had been captured in war. The slaves in Sparta outnumbered the citizens. The Spartans were so worried that slaves would revolt that they would declare war on the slaves from time to time in order to legally kill them. Although they were slaves, they enjoyed some freedoms, such as marrying whomever they wanted, sell extra crops, and even buy their own freedom. There you have it. Athens and Sparta in 5 minutes or less. Here are some references.